and some other individuals that are interested in helping with our mission. And so, one of the individuals we reached out to last year at our conference, they had indicated wanting to join. And so, we were able to add them to our executive in the last month or so. And her name is Rachel. And then another neat endeavor that we've started this year, some of the universities around the country have student chapters for physical education and health. And so we're starting this partnership. We reached out to some of the different student chapters and invited them to possibly join our coalition. And so we had one person that we added to our executive. Her name is Maya, and she'll be volunteering with us over the next few years, hopefully, if she stays on that long. And then we have three students from Ontario Tech University as well that are going to be helping over the next little while and helping us prepare for our conference that's coming up. So it's kind of neat that we have some more individuals and some more ideas coming in, and people are sharing kind of the workload and the enjoyment of the coalition itself. And so that's just kind of neat that we're continuing to advance and continue to get younger people involved. It was kind of neat. They were quite excited to join, and I reflected back to them as well that it was kind of neat that at a young point in their career, they're already able to kind of connect with some of these big organizations and volunteer some of their time and possibly some change makers of what's going on in our schools, or continue to have that healthy school kind of model in mind. So leading into that, we have sent out a call for presenters for our conference that's coming up in May. And so the conference is taking place at Ontario Tech University in Oshawa. So it'll be neat that some of these students can kind of help us connect with the school and also reach out to some presenters possibly as well for the conference that's coming up. It is quite an exciting year for us. We're celebrating a milestone of 25 years. So 20 and 25 years ago, the coalition started. I've been with the team for about 5 years, so it's kind of neat to see that it's still continuing on and it's kind of developed into something a bit bigger than where it started. And it's continuing to grow as well. And in addition to looking for presenters for the conference, we're also looking for some award nominations. So you might know an individual or two that has done some great work over the last year, or maybe it's been years. So there's a couple application forms that are in the agenda, and they're also on the website as well. And if you're following us on social media as well, you'll be able to see some of the information and updates there as well. So like I said, we're celebrating 25 years. We are having a similar setup to our conference as last year, starting on the Sunday evening. We'll have a little bit of a social gathering and kind of a meet and greet and time to kind of share and get ready for the conference on Monday. And it is a full day conference that's taking place on Monday, again, in person. So kind of nice that we are continuing to meet together. And the idea is that it's a participatory kind of conference as far as working with the presenters or being involved with the presenters and kind of discussing some healthy school topics as well. Um, and then obviously the application to go to the conference is open as well. So if you're looking to sign up, that's great. Always nice to get some numbers in earlier, so it kind of helps us plan for the day as well. And so this year we are seeking presentations that focus on achievements kind of over the last 25 years, maybe things that have changed over the last 25 years, or things that are kind of difficult or challenges right now. I can think of something like a vaping kind of concept that or topic that seems to be continuing to be a problem for high schools and grade schools as well. And then maybe some things that we can do in the future to kind of tackle some of these things that are in our schools. We can look back at some of the things that have happened, some of the things that we've kind of achieved or accomplished. Some of that will be discussed later on and with our guest presenters. We're hoping to even have a couple of our champions come from the past years. I know a few of them are in the meeting right now, but kind of neat to maybe even set up a table at the conference where we could have kind of a meet and greet or some question sessions. And then again, yeah, just kind of highlighting the neat work that the coalition has done over the last little while. So again, those links are in the agenda. They're on the website. If you visit either X or Instagram, the information is linked there as well. So any questions about that, as well as I'll open up any additions to our agenda before we get to our guest presentations. Yes, and Haley is on the call with us. She is one of our Ontario Tech students that'll be helping out. So, kind of her first meeting and kind of getting her feet wet, so to speak. I don't see any other questions in the chat. And so I'm going to try to share my screen. Haven't done this a lot, so bear with me for just a second. All right. It's taking a second here to load. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Arlene, can you just confirm that it is there once I do?
I will.
Okay. Awesome. Can you see the screen there, Arlene? Hello?
On my, I see you, but it might be the view that I'm looking at as the holder of this account. Folks, can you see Jeff's screen?
Jeff, I don't see it yet.
Okay.
And I turned my screen sharing off, so you should be able to screen share.
Sure.
Yes, it's working.
So I'm just going to put this into slideshow.
I think it's just a little slow in loading.
Yeah, as usual. Awesome. I was going to post this at the beginning, but maybe I get just a 30 seconds for yourself. I am a health and physical education teacher, so kind of thinking about different experiences that we may have had or not had. And so, kind of the picture that's going to pop up on the screen there kind of shows kids, a group that seems to be enjoying playing the activity or game that they're doing. Then we have a group that's kind of standing there, kind of with a worried look on their face. And then we have a few kids kind of sitting out that don't seem to be participating at all. So I just thought in the chat if you could maybe kind of put what your phys ed experiences or memories were from your childhood. If you could just put that in the chat, give me about 30 seconds. If you're comfortable doing that. All right. And I'll take a peek at that a little bit later on as well. So, as I said, I've been teaching for 25 years. I would say the first 10 or 15 years of phys ed was sport-based. I kind of followed what everybody else was doing in the board, what kind of seemed to be normal for physical education. So it felt like I was doing a good job, but if I look back now, I wish I would have done things quite a bit different. as you may or may not know, the curriculum changed in 2015, and then it kind of sat for a bit. And then 2019, they kind of added a social emotional learning piece to it. And so if I look on the screen here, kind of in the last 5 or so years, I really kind of changed my programming and how I was teaching phys ed and how I was setting up different activities or games for my students. Enter. Awesome. So there's just that timeline there of the physical education curriculum. And so Phys Ed Canada put out a graphic like this one a few years ago. This is kind of a newer one. And so my presentation is going to be based on these 9 principles. So I'll just leave that graphic there just for a second for you to look. Interesting enough, they use the word education kind of as a model for their physical literacy principles. And so we're just going to kind of go through those over the next 9 minutes or so. And so the first kind of one they highlighted was enjoyment. I find joy is a big part of my program. And the way that we can get joy in there is by offering different options or activities for kids. So one I think keep in mind is called beach ball blast. So basically it's kind of a volleyball keep up activity. You'd hit the equipment and then after you send the object in the air, you'd complete a fitness task that could jumping jack. And so, depending on the skill level of kids, if you're not really great at volleyball, that would be quite a challenging task and probably a bit daunting. And so, for an activity like that, we can include something like a beach ball or even a balloon, depending on the age of the kids. So, just definitely wanting to promote lots of joy in the gymnasium. The next one is kind of this diversity piece, which is coming to the forefront a lot of our classrooms. Just going to play a quick clip here. Hopefully it works. Here it comes. My computer's a bit slower as well, so bear with us. And so I'll just explain. This is a culturally relevant responsive pedagogy, kind of trying to introduce games that came from around the world. So you'll kind of see how things can look a little bit different in a classroom, depending on how the teacher or the leader sets up some of the activities or lessons. I think it's coming here. And so this is called Game of Graces. It's from Greece. It's a bit flagging. I'm just going to pause it. I'll just kind of explain it. So you can see in the picture there, we have a deck ring and then 2 sticks. We use drumsticks, and the idea is the students pull the sticks apart. It's going to send the object in the air, and then their neighbor's going to try to catch that as far as something different or non-traditional as far as a gym or gymnasium activity. I got to get out of here. Give me a second. Oh, shoot. Bear with me, please. Oh, if someone can give me a hand here. This isn't my favorite thing. You're sharing your screen.
Jeff, I think you just have to click to the back to the slide deck tab.
Thank you. All right. So. Um,
Sometimes too, you have to stop sharing and then bring up your other page, but try what Marley mentioned first.
Does Jeff seem frozen to others?
Yes, he does.
Yes.
I wonder if we've lost him.
Give him a second. I do think we lost him. What?
Marley, do you think should I bring up my slides and then he can continue when he comes back on?
Yeah, would you like me to share the slide deck and then go to your slide?
You can do that, or I can bring them up right here.
Okay, if you want to, then go ahead.
Okay, no problem. 1 second.
Sorry, everyone, for the technical difficulties.
All right, can someone confirm they can see?
Yeah, we can see if you want to make it into like the slideshow
Yep.
mode, like the bigger one.
There we go.
Perfect. Take it away.
All right, 1 second. I'm just gonna also. All right, so I'm not able to find it where to put my picture on, but anyway, I'll start talking and I'll try to figure it out as I go. So thank you, everyone, and sorry for that interruption, but we'll get back to Jeff's part around quality physical education. My piece really is looking at how we can create movement throughout the day, disrupting sedentary behavior. And so I'm Allison Boschler, and I'm a physical activity specialist with Hamilton Public Health Services. So thank you very much for allowing me to present today. So I'm going to start with this quote. It's by a Canadian researcher in this area, Dr. Travis Saunders, who you may have heard of before. And he poses the question, is sedentary behavior required for the activity, or is it merely the default? And so I challenge you to be mindful of this as you go about your personal and professional lives and encounter various activities and opportunities over the course of the day. And I think I would be remiss to present this topic if I didn't start with this slide. So of course, please feel free to stand or move as you need throughout the presentation. I think this is something that many of us in our roles already do, but it's a good reminder that we live in a world that makes sedentary behavior the easy choice. So our work entails challenging and changing that norm. And sometimes we need that nudge or a reminder. Some people may need that permission or support to stand or move, especially in spaces where this typically has not been the culture. So think of the traditional classroom or some work organizations. And we can all be role models by doing this to create supportive environments for others to feel empowered and comfortable to join in. So when we're talking about sedentary behavior, we're referring to activities that include 3 components. They happen while we are awake, they take place in a reclining or sitting position, and they use very little energy. So based on this, note that it is possible to be seated and not sedentary. So think of activities like rowing, wheelchair basketball, or chair aerobics. Just a quick note on language. A lot of the past research and resources, and even those that we still see today, focus on the term sitting. But using an equity lens, we need to be mindful not to stigmatize populations. So some individuals may not be able to stand or stand for long periods of time. And as we just learned, sitting does not automatically equate sedentary. So the focus is on sedentary behavior, not sitting. And while sedentary behavior is often interchanged with physical inactivity, the two are not the same. So physical inactivity is defined as the non-achievement of the physical activity guidelines. So think children and youth, that's 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous every day. So it's therefore possible to be both physically active and sedentary. Although sadly, we know from data that the majority of our population is both physically inactive and sedentary. So sedentary behavior is an independent risk factor. Higher levels of sedentary behavior among children and youth are associated with poor cardiometabolic health, fitness, behavioral, conduct, prosocial behavior, and reduced sleep. So therefore, we need strategies that address both. And we need to keep in mind too that sedentary behavior research is still relatively new. So based on available evidence, the sedentary behavior guidelines that came out for children and youth are somewhat vague, as you can see here. They talk about limiting recreational screen time for no more than 2 hours, and for limiting sedentary behavior for extended periods, but there is no threshold or time recommendation provided. So it was very exciting in 2022 when the Sedentary Behavior Research Network, after extensive evidence review and discussion, were able to provide the international school-related sedentary behavior recommendations. And these had actual time recommendations, which you see here. So for children 5 to 11 years, they recommend breaking up sedentary behavior once every 30 minutes. And for youth 12 to 18, every hour to be part of a healthy school day. And just to note that there are other recommendations on school-related sedentary behavior that was put out with these recommendations. Some of them will be incorporated in my presentation, but there are others. As well, PHE Canada hosts a number of knowledge products related to these recommendations on their website. So if you haven't already checked these out, I encourage you to do so. From the data, we know children and youth spend a lot of their day sedentary, and this time increases with age. The recent CAMH OSDIS report from 2023 showed that 78% of students in grades 7 through 12 reported spending 3 or more hours per day on recreational screen time. While screen time is one sedentary activity, looking at screen time alone doesn't capture other sedentary activities such as non-active travel, schoolwork while seated at a desk, sedentary time while socializing, or others. Previously, objective measured data that we've gotten through accelerometers from the Canadian Health Measures Survey showed that Canadian children and youth are spending on average 8.4 hours per day sedentary. So that sounds like a lot, and it is. But when you think about activities students participate in over the course of the day, as depicted here in some of these icons, you can see how easy it is for sedentary behavior to accumulate. So we can look at sedentary behavior over the course of the school day and divide this time into various categories. Jeff will be speaking to the health and physical education as he started to, so we'll leave that for him and we'll look at the other areas. And I know Marley's going to go into more detail on some of these as well. So opportunities before and after school include active transportation to and from school and also around the community, and also opportunities for both structured and unstructured activity with a focus on outdoor play where we know that students get more steps. Just to note too, during this time period that the SBRN had a recommendation related to homework. So you'll see that listed here. And so that they recommend that to incorporate different types of movement into homework wherever possible, and to limit sedentary homework to no more than 10 minutes per day per grade level. Recess or break time also provides a wonderful opportunity to reduce sedentary behavior, and there's been lots of promising options highlighted in the research. Something I think, though, that we really need to be thinking about now is climate change and climate change mitigation. With climate change and increased inclement weather, as we've seen more recently, more regularly, with things like smoke days, smog days, heat days, etc., how do we continue to preserve outdoor recess as much as possible through things like shade, access to water, or other novel approaches such as misting stations or the type of surfaces that we're using to deflect heat? If indoor recesses are necessary, then we need to be planning for those, for students to be able to access space and equipment to allow opportunities for movement. So we need to be thinking of that if we're building new schools, if we're retrofitting older schools, or even just utilizing the spaces that we already have in schools. Lastly, I'd like to talk about traditionally sedentary classroom time. So I'd like you to consider the two learning spaces that are depicted in these pictures. The top picture looks like a traditional kindergarten classroom. So you'll notice the large space for movement and opportunities for student choice. And the bottom classroom we might see in a typical high school. So I'm going to ask you, and I think I already know the answer to this, but where would you rather spend your time? I know which one I'd be choosing. But in recent years, there has been a greater focus on creating activity permissive learning environments. So changing or modifying learning spaces to allow for movement. Classroom spaces provide an opportunity to incorporate movement. So we've seen more focus on the physical spaces in schools and classrooms in recent years in both research and resources, connecting these spaces and student health. So things like moving furniture to accommodate spaces for movement is depicted in the template examples in the bottom left, to taking students outside for a class or part of a class, which does not need to be an elaborate outdoor space. It also could be as simple as switching rooms with a teaching partner halfway through a lesson, or allowing students the opportunities to stand or move as needed throughout classroom time. Providing more flexible classroom furniture, such as height adjustable desks, cycling desks, is also other options for reducing sedentary behavior in the classroom. A recent review reported increases in energy expenditure for cycling desks and height adjustable desks. And they also noticed that students increased inhibitory control and selective attention capacity while using cycling desks. So there are educational benefits to these as well. So this type of change I recognize is going to take time, and it's not to suggest that all desks in a classroom need to be height adjustable or cycling desks, but the idea is to provide choice and options for students. And it's something for us to be thinking about as furniture life cycles come to an end and within procurement policies at a board level. Do we continue to buy what we've always bought, or is there opportunities to bring in some of these novel furniture pieces that have been shown to be positive in the research? And lastly, I'm going to just briefly touch on active breaks and active curriculum, because I know Marley's going to be talking about that. But active breaks, which are physical activity breaks from learning, or active curriculum, which is integrating movement into learning within classrooms, have demonstrated promise in reducing sedentary time, with some research showing benefits on learning as well. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to Marley, and she can talk a little bit more about options for resources and active breaks. Thank you very much. So I'll just stop sharing my screen here.
Thanks, Allison.
Oh, and maybe I'm passing it back to Jeff. Sorry, Jeff, I couldn't see that you were back on there.
That's okay.
Welcome back.
Awesome. So Marley, I think you're going to share the screen.
Yeah, can you see that now?
Yeah. And so do you mind going down to slide 7? Cool. So we talked about joy, we talked about diversity.
Okay. Is that slide 7?
Yeah, and so as we highlighted, an opportunity for kids to kind of share their thinking, give students feedback on how they're doing. And so for number 4, for the next slide, we talk about social emotional learning. So a lot of the games that I do in my phys ed program intentionally teach social emotional learning. Like I said, it's a big part of the newer curriculum. So I think of a simple game like hot potato. If we're just playing that, one person gets to pass the object around. Most of them are standing there. Not a lot of buy-in for an activity like that. So if you can now picture, we have 5 items going around the circle. And so 5 items are being passed around the circle. When the teacher says stop, whoever has it completes a physical activity. You can also do that if you don't have the object, you complete a physical activity. So kind of a bit of a different setup. You can do it where whoever has the object, the person to the right and left of them, have to all complete a task. And then kind of a neat concept I've done lately, if you get caught with a hot potato, you're going to move to the middle of the circle. You'll perform a dance move, a balance, or some kind of fitness task, and then the students get to choose to follow one of those. So again, just having the students kind of work together and kind of carry an activity like that. So building character through physical activity. And then on the next screen, we talk about the different abilities that students have. So kind of taking into account that, finding games or activities that kind of students can all enter the activity, that you don't need to be super athletic, but a lot of starting points for that. And as I explain to kids, it's hard for me to mark them if they're not actually touching the equipment or being part of the game. So that's kind of my responsibility as well, as far as getting the kids involved. A neat activity, it's basically a keep away game, but it's called Can't Touch This from OFIA, where the students work together and discuss strategies on how to keep an object away from another group, which is obviously a lead up activity for any kind of invasion game. So, and then again, giving feedback either to the students from the teacher or from the students themselves. So again, just keeping those abilities in check. So, and number 6, we have this idea of totality. So having kids really enjoy moving their bodies. One of the things we talk about is masking the fitness. So last week we did a hula hoop challenge, jumping jack. So the students would spin a hula hoop, do one jumping jack, and try to retrieve it or catch it before it hit the floor. And then eventually they would do 2 jumping jacks. And we did that for about 10 minutes, and all the students are working on their own and part of the activity. The neat part that we did next was then the students got to choose their own movement to complete during the hoop challenge. So some of them chose just something simple like clapping. They could turn around, do squats. So giving them that and pleasure, enjoyment of moving their bodies. I think about some of the fitness testing we used to do when I was younger and how terrible that would have been for some of the students in the class, and how daunting that would have been as well. So just trying to make it fun while we are moving. So number 7, and this is the imagination piece. So I'll give you a few examples. So one of the things that we do is called loose caboose. So students are in a chain, and the leader is doing dance moves, and they'll follow the leader, what the leader is doing. And then I'll stop the music. Then the loose caboose at the back moves to the front, and then they get to lead the activity. Another thing we do is different bingo activities. One basketball bingo there, or I do jump rope. And basically the students are working on their own, partners, groups, they get to choose. And so they're going to try to complete a bingo using a basketball or maybe jump rope. So doing different tricks, passing the basketball, dribbling it so many times, kind of that choice. And then we also do an activity with my younger guys called as if. So I might say, move as if you're a helicopter, move as if you're a jellyfish, move as if you're a caterpillar. And then eventually the students kind of control the activity on their own. So they'll play as if in a small group. And so just again, another way to get that creative piece and get their voice as well involved. And so number 8 is ongoing. So we want to have kids playing, as Allison was saying, as much as possible. So most programs have 200 minutes every 2 weeks for physical education. That's not across the whole province, but that's our goal, plus 50 minutes of physical health. And so I think about our conference last year, we had someone present on the PALS program. And so they updated that resource, and the link's there as well. So if you want to look at that or share it, just different ways to get kids enjoying moving. And that might be at something like a recess break, right? Where we're teaching them games that they can kind of play on their own or do activities that don't need a lot of teacher involvement or a lot of equipment, but still has kids kind of working together and having some fun. And kind of a last one here. Number 9 is that kind of nurturing. So thinking about the kids that come into your building. I teach in a building that's low socioeconomic status. So sometimes kids are coming with boots for phys ed, and that's all they have. Crocs seem to be a popular footwear nowadays. So trying to deal with that. We see those kids playing in the corner. And kind of the idea of, you can see they all have the same uniform on. So when I started teaching, some schools, they require the kids to even purchase a uniform. So that might be a bit of a cost thing. But the idea of what goes on in the change room. So when kids are changing, or that concept of having to change in front of other kids kind of can be a little bit difficult. So part of my philosophy now, especially, is kind of having the kids come as they are, or come as they can. And not say, where are your gym shoes? How come you don't have this? Right. And, often it's not their fault. They're not able to, buy some of the things, or they just don't have the resources at home. So kind of keeping that lens in mind that not everybody is able to come with the same kind of equipment or kind of clothes. And so kind of wrapping that up now on the next slide. So my goal as a PE teacher is to make PE meaningful. So if the kids are doing kind of those 9 principles of physical literacy, often the class goes quite well. And so again, that's is a big part of my phys ed journey, or is my teaching journey over the last 25 years. So that ties nicely with what Allison was saying as far as getting kids active. And then Marley's going to highlight how that might look in a small space in your school. So again, sorry about the delay earlier, but I appreciate your patience.
Thanks, Jeff. Just give me a second.
Yep. While Marley is getting to her spot, all those links are live on our slide deck. We'll post it in the chat, and it was kind of designed for you to maybe share with other individuals, whether it's in your health units or say, hey, here's some ideas I came across in a presentation. There's lots of ideas from AFIA, from Phys Ed Canada, from CIRA, so lots of things in this slide deck for you. So awesome. And here's Marley.
Thank you, Jeff. So yeah, along the lines of what Jeff just wrapped up with, we hope that this slide deck can be used with, there's lots of live links in there and just used as ideas of things that we've done or things that have worked in our schools, or maybe ideas that you might want to share with schools or groups or organizations that you are working with. So my name is Marley Corcoran. I am an elementary school teacher in the York Region District School Board. I'm lucky enough that I've been at the same school now for 16 years. I teach full phys ed, grade 1 to grade 8. So along the lines of those lucky, I've taught the same kids from when they were grade 1 all the way till they're in grade 8, and I get to teach them phys ed throughout their whole elementary school journey. So that's really exciting for me. I just have a passion of helping kids realize what parts of activity they like, much like where we saw lots of responses in the chat about the different photos, and how we personally felt when we were in phys ed class. My goal is to just help my students find certain activities or find what activities that they like to do in hopes that they continue being active participants. I am fortunate enough to belong to some organizations with Jeff, Ontario Healthy Schools Coalition, as an executive member, and CIRA Ontario, and some other things that I do throughout my day at school. I'm going to get into as we go, and I hope that you can take some of these as some ideas. So Allison did a fabulous job of touching on an active classroom and showing some amazing photos. I would love to have those wheel desks, bicycle desks. Those looked amazing. But just from an educator perspective, what I see, hear, and feel when I'm in classrooms that are active, or when educators are being intentional about getting kids up and moving throughout their day. These are some things that I see in the classrooms, or that we hear students collaborating all over the place, all over the different space in the rooms, busting out into the halls to do some work, and how it feels to be in those classrooms. It feels inclusive. It feels like everyone's getting their ability to collaborate with each other, and it feels safe. So I kind of wanted to give some examples of how we can get students moving throughout the day in two different sections. So the first section is during instructional time, ways that we can intentionally set times aside to get our students moving. And then the second section I'll touch on are some examples of how to get students moving throughout the school day, but during outside of the instructional time. So in instructional time, we can set specific times in our schedule to have our movement breaks, which is always wonderful. If the students know they're coming and they're scheduled and that's the time, maybe that's what they're looking forward to in that day, or they're able to focus on the math task at hand or whatever they're doing because they know the movement break is coming up. Or also just having organic breaks when you feel like your group of students in front of you needs to get up and move. There's tons of examples. We aren't short in resources of how to get these things incorporated throughout our day, but sometimes finding them is trouble, or sometimes finding the links is trouble. So we have a bunch of links for you in this slide deck, but some ideas of just to get kids up and moving with the purposes to move would be like follow along videos, some online fitness games that I'm going to share with you, some drumming at their desks with pencils is always fun, just some videos that they could follow along while while you're taking a break from the activity they were doing curricular-wise. The other way to get students up and moving in a much more organic way is to intentionally design our lessons to include movement in those lessons. So if you're talking about in social studies, or you have an opinion question and you get them going to different corners of the room based on their opinions and walking around and talking to each other in those areas of the room. Or you've done some work and you want to show off the group's work to all the other groups. You do a gallery walk, you walk around and try to see all the other different ideas that have been going on. Multiple choice review, I used to like to do when I taught like other subjects other than phys ed, where you're reviewing something for a quiz or a test and you're doing like review for content, but they show you the answer that they would choose based on the move that they do. So if you think it's A, then show me jumping jacks. If you think it's B, so they're kind of moving while they're giving you the answer in a cross-curricular way. And then I just put math but plus DPA equals fun because I started on a project that I haven't finished, but I'll show you on the next slide about how we can intentionally connect our Ontario math curriculum with movement so that they are learning while they move. I'll show you on the next slide. The outside of instructional time all have their own slides that I'm going to get to as well. So I started on this project connecting all the grades curriculum. I have only, I think, got done kindergarten to grade 2 expectations, but my idea was, and I'm still working on it, and I will share it out whenever it's done, was to connect the curriculum expectations per grade to activities that you could do to learn those expectations. So for example, this one is just recognizing and representing numbers. Participants roll a dice. Depending on the number they get, they show you that they recognize it by recognizing it on this sheet, and then they do the move associated with that. And they could play it in small groups. They could play it individually, but I wanted to create activities where I know that educators have a hard time scheduling movement breaks when it's not curriculum connected. So thinking about scheduling movement breaks that connect to curriculum content is a little bit easier way to get the time in there with the movement. So this slide has a ton of links about where we could find activity resources. Like I said, we're not short on resources. They're out there. There's tons out there, but sometimes it's hard to find. So CERA Ontario has a ton of publications. OFIA has a variety of online ones that you can download, print off. Everactive does, PH Canada. I've just linked them all there as different places that educators or people working with youth or anyone could go to find some movement cards, movement activities, movement games. There's tons of them there that are there for you for later. One of them I wanted to showcase. So if you see online fitness board games, this came out of our pandemic when we had to figure out how to teach online really quickly. And phys ed teachers had to figure out how to teach phys ed online, which was a extra exciting time. So I created these online board games and I just put them out on Twitter. And it's actually, I just ran a workshop in Toronto Catholic board on Friday, and a teacher recognized my name and said, "Oh, you made the fitness monopoly." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm so glad people are still using it." I still use these board games when my gym is closed down or I need to go, it's too cold to go outside for the students, like they're at the threshold where they're not allowed. So I go into the classrooms and I get them into small groups and we play these fitness board games. So I wanted to showcase this one because it is Black History Month, and this is celebrating Black excellence in sports, and they're all Canadian athletes that get showcased on this board. And it's just a link. These links are shareable. They're all free to play. Just links of board games that kids can play together. They roll the dice, they move the people, the players, and then when they get to a thing, like a square, they click on it and it shows them like something about a famous Black Canadian athlete, and then it tells them a move to do. So it's kind of a fun game to get students moving in the classes while also learning. Those are linked for you there as well. And another idea to get students moving in the day, but not necessarily during curriculum time, is during those times where is a recess or a before school or an after school when kids can come into the gym and have experiences that they're not getting in phys ed, because to be honest, it would be awesome if everyone had phys ed every single day, but they don't. So getting grades and students in the gym as often as possible and giving them extra time is always a bonus. So this is what works at my school. This is just a model that could work, but I just wanted to share it. So in my school, we rotate kindergarten to grade 8 every single morning recess of every day. So the grade 3s had it today, the grade 4s have it tomorrow, and it just goes on a cycle. And every single morning recess, if you're in that grade, you have the opportunity to come to the gym and play whatever we're doing. An announcement's on every morning, letting them know what the activity is so they can choose to come if that's something that they want to do. And we've built in teacher supervision time so that it is a recess duty, so that it's always supervised and we don't have to worry about finding those volunteer staff to give up their recesses to let kids have those opportunities. And we also train our grade 7 and 8 healthy school leaders to organize and run the activity. So the teachers are really there for supervision in case of injury to help solve some conflicts, but the 7 and 8s are leading every activity. They're setting it up, they're making the teams, they're running the score clock if it's a scoring situation. They're really on it, and they're leading it as they go. And again, every single day it happens at morning recess. So the reason why it's great to have it built into the supervision schedule as well is if a teacher's away, that duty is covered by the occasional teacher. So it's not like we don't have to shut it down because the teacher is away that day. It got so big at my school that we actually just have an unsafe amount of kids coming, like the whole grade comes. So we do open the library as an option as well for other board games, mindful coloring, things like that, so they can go back and forth between the library and the gym when it is their grades day for intramurals. Also, some clubs that are some suggestions of what you could do or start or organize to get students moving throughout the day. The Blue Jays have an amazing baseball club with a few different options. At my school, we noticed that we needed more options for our girls because we had an overwhelming amount of girls try out for all the teams, and they all can't make the team. So we wanted to have a club that was available for girls. The Blue Jays have one of their options is a Girls at Bat program where it just gets girls introduced into the idea and the game of baseball. They send you a ton of free equipment. They've presented at our meeting before. It's a wonderful program. It's all free, and you actually get free stuff for being in the club. So it's awesome. My girls, we started it as a grade 4. It's our 3rd year running it. Now we have a grade 4, 5, and 6 club because they don't want to be done with it. So we just keep it going and we add every year as we go. We've had walking clubs in the past. Walking clubs are great for outside walking clubs. We've had staff members take students around, like outside of our boundaries for recess, which is always really fun. Or inside, we've had walking clubs where they're just getting moving in the hallway, doing laps. Our school council paid for a badminton club, so they paid for some instructors to come in, and it was all volunteer, like to attend the club. Everyone could do it if they wanted, and they just had nights in our school gym that students came back to school and participated in badminton club, just with some school council funds. And same with our grade 3 sports club. Our school team start in grade 4, and our grade 3s get really sad about that. So we had some funding from PHE Canada, which was amazing, to pay for some city. We're in Markham, so we had some Markham recreation staff come at lunches and just run a club for our grade 3s to join, and it was free for them. And this again came from school council funds. So there's just some ideas of how to get things going or what to suggest could happen in your schools. Allison spoke about recess. Some ideas that we do is we make sure, again, with school council funds or fundraising funds, at the beginning of the year, we make sure every class has a bag of equipment, and we label it nice and large with Sharpie, the room numbers, so we know whose equipment belongs to who. And that kind of gives a sense of ownership to that equipment. They're careful with it. They know it's their classes and they take care of it, and that's their stuff to play with for the year. It's kind of a consumable because we know balls break and get roofed. And so every year, school council is generous enough. I have to ask them to replenish those. But every year we start with a fresh set of equipment for every class so that they have stuff to do at recess. And along with things on our tarmac, we have wonderful tarmac paintings, but some students don't know how to use those. So I make sure I spend September taking them outside and showing them and teaching them games and things that they can do while they're outside at recess. We get outdoor intramurals going when we can on our second field. So we send some leaders out there to organize some activities for grades. And we actually just did this once and I want to do it again this winter. I haven't yet, but last year we had a contest with a neighboring school. So we noticed it was really snowy, snow was coming down. They were going out and we just called over to the neighboring school and we said, let's have a contest. Let's see what school can build the most snowmen in from like by the end of the day. So we counted ours, they counted theirs. We made a big announcement, just something simple to get students motivated to get outside and get active and to build snowmen. And then Allison spoke about maximizing outdoor recess, which is completely the goal for sure. But sometimes we've had like a week where it's indoor the whole week and kids are inside for so long. So we just started putting on music and letting them walk laps. We have a quad, like a hall, like a square. So we just let them walk laps in the halls. And it's amazing how many are choosing to do that just to get out, get their bodies moving and walking around during the recess. We work in partnership with our public health nurse, our municipality, and our board actually has a position called an active school travel coordinator. So this has been years in the making, but we have a lot of great things going that I just wanted to give as an examples of what active school travel could look like to get students moving before and after school. We close our Kiss and Ride completely on Wednesdays. So it's open every other day of the week, but on Wednesdays it's completely closed and everyone has to walk to school. With the idea being that if you can manage that on a Wednesday, you probably can manage it on the other days, and it really has taken off. The city paid to get sidewalk markings and signs so that our kids have like hopscotch and things to do on their way to school, as well as signs saying you are 10 minutes from here to John McCrae and 5 minutes more to get to school, like little signs to keep them going on their walks. We do these things called walking tally days where it's a surprise. Just every now and then on the announcements, it'll say, hey, it's a walking tally day. Healthy school leaders, please take your tally for the day. And everything counts. That's sustainable travel, not just walking. So if you do ride the school bus, that also counts. Um, and then at the end of the month at our monthly assemblies, we give away these shoes that you can see. It's really exciting. We call the healthy school reps up from each class who won the golden shoe and won the silver shoe from that division. They come up, they celebrate, they cheer for the class that gets to keep this award for the month in their classroom. Just a little something to motivate them to come to school in an active way. And we really partner with our public health nurse to get these things going. Like if we'll randomly stand outside and hand out some stickers that she's brought for us, or some bike bells, or little things to have little incentives to get our students and families coming to school and leaving in an active way. The last thing I just wanted to share are some other ideas to bring the community in after school during a nighttime. So once a month, I do these things called family fun nights. This is the easiest thing to set up. You just need a willing staff member and an open gym. And I put out to play, and students bring in adults or a neighbor, and they come and they play with their neighbors or their grandparents or their family members, and they're just playing a variety of activities together in the gym once a month. The other thing we've done, which is a great idea if you can partner with your local municipality, like the recreation department, and it's also really great free advertising for them, is that you invite them into your school to like sample their classes that they're going to offer in the next like fall session. So they would set up in different rooms. Maybe they have some Zumba going on, some yoga, all the things they're going to offer that would entice our families to maybe sign up for them, but it gives our families a night of activity to try the classes that are going to be offered later in the town's offerings. And I think that is it for me. Jeff and I put our emails there if there were any questions after the fact. Just some ideas of how to get students moving in and outside of the school day. I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff.
Awesome. So thanks, Allison. Thanks, Marley. So again, as Marley mentioned, we'll have the slide deck available for you. At this time, I just wanted to welcome Selena. She's going to discuss any updates or information on behalf of OFIA.
Thank you, Jeff, and great presentation, everyone. Love to see all the connections between other organizations and what schools are doing on the ground. Jeff, can I share my screen? I just have one PDF file. That's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Perfect. I'll go on video. All right. So I have a few, oh, my video already on. So I have a few updates on behalf of Lucia. So first, starting with our call for nomination. So each year, Lucia recognizes the contributions of leaders in the field of child and youth well-being through the award of distinction and award of outstanding contribution. So there are two links here. So if you know anyone or an organization who's made a difference, we encourage you to nominate them. I'll put the links in the chat, but I'll also share afterwards this PDF which has everything hyperlinked. But in the meantime, there are the direct links. So we are welcoming nominations until Friday, March 21st. And those who are nominated will they'll be presented at the PHE conference, which is happening in May in Niagara Falls. And Lucia will also cover the travel, registration, and accommodation costs for the two winners. The next thing I wanted to mention is a professional learning opportunity that is coming up. So we have one professional learning opportunity in March that's going to be available both in English and French. I'll put the links to register in the chat box as well. But the webinar title is Digital Dangers Discussing Tech Facilitator Gender-Based Violence. So this webinar will dive deep into the world of deepfakes and their consequences. So if you don't know what deepfakes are, they're highly realistic media manipulations powered by advanced artificial intelligence, AI, which alter or entirely generate images, videos, voices, and text. So I know AI is something that we're hearing a lot that's happening in schools. Teachers, students are using it for the benefit, maybe not using it for in the right way. So this webinar will be hosted by Lucia, and we'll have two guest expert speakers come to both the French and the English webinars to provide some updates and what they're doing in the field, as well as opportunities for questions. So those links are included in here, but I'll also add them in the chat box. So I should mention, the English session is on March 4th, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then the French session is March 18th, same time, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And the final update, as mentioned, I just wanted to promote and encourage folks to register and attend, if able to, the Physical and Health Education National Conference. So this is taking place May 1st to May 3rd in Niagara Falls. It's a great networking opportunity, lots of guest speakers, social events, panel presentations. Yeah, lots of great things. I'm on the social committee, lots of fun things happening as well too, outside of the conference time when we're networking and learning. So if you are interested and able to, I encourage folks to register to attend. There is a regular rate that ends on February 28th. And then the rate will be going up. So I'll also put that in the link or in the chat box, the link to register and learn more about what's on the agenda for the PHE conference. Those are all the updates from Ophia. Short and sweet this month, but we always appreciate the time to share what's happening on our end.
Awesome. Thanks, Selena.
Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome. So again, just sorry for a bit of the tech problems. I seem to have those often, but we got through it. If there's any other last questions, we'll just maybe wait or I'll check the chat. But other than that, we're going to kind of wrap things up. Again, Arlene mentioned that you can receive the slide deck through the listserv. If there's any further questions you may have for Allison, myself, or Marley, feel free to reach out. No questions too complicated or too small. We're here to help you and hopefully motivate more individuals to make their phys ed programs or their active classrooms more active. So. Awesome. I don't see anything else. And so again, if you're interested in presenting or nominating someone for an award, or hopefully you'll be attending our conference, those things are all available for you to sign up for through our Google Docs. So hopefully everyone has a great rest of their Thursday. I'm not sure if it's snowing where you are. We got about 5 or 6 centimeters here in Niagara, but hopefully everyone enjoys the rest of their day, and we'll shut the meeting down at this time. So thanks for attending.